We are a media firm, and we have a lot of requests on how to leverage your media presence. So we have created this presentation for a lot of those different questions that we've come across and concerns that people have been having. So tell you a little bit about me. I'm a media branding strategist. I work with a variety of different businesses, individuals, small businesses, to help them not only with leveraging their media presence, but understanding their brand, doing brand assessments, making sure that they know who they are before they move to that next phase of marketing and PR and all those different things. Another, footprint, we're a global media firm. We're a 2-time award winner with BBB. And we like to say we support the underdog. And the underdog is, business that's not really recognized, that's, trying to get your footprint out there and do those different things with different medias. Our podcast, we have an international podcast, which are on all of these platforms here. And we also have a digital magazine, which is online only, and both the magazine and the podcast is viewed and listened to in over 20 countries. Some of the common reasons that small businesses don't reach out is that they have these questions and a fear of not having anything of value to say. Nobody wants to know about that simple thing that you may do and you think, okay, it's invaluable, but nobody really wants to know about what that thing is. Nobody knows me, so they want to invite me to be a guest on the show. I need to build my followers before I reach out to media or any speaking opportunities. None of those should be a factor on how you move forward with media and getting the attention or attracting that person or firm that you want to be a part of. So wipe all of that out, start fresh, and refocus on what you have of value and none of those other things. The first thing you want to do on how to get started, you feel free to sit anywhere. When you have a lot of questions as you're going through this. What do you do? How do you do it? Who do you contact? Where do you go? All these different things that may come up as you're, here's one more one here.
Before you start up again, will you be able to send that to us, your slide, and then take pictures?
You can take pictures of the screen. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to send it. Here's one right here. You can slide over here in the middle, wherever you would like to go.
Well, I want to get in front of the line.
Okay.
But I will.
Sure. So, as you have all of these questions, we're going to go through some of these, and you still may have a few more questions. But as you go through this, be patient. Don't rush. Don't get frustrated. And if you do, just try to, circle back and refocus on what you need to do. Vanity metrics is a huge mistake that a lot of people run into. Because we go to different sites and we want to say who has the most followers, who has the biggest engagement, who's doing this. Not really looking at what they're posting, the engagement they're going with. Don't look at the numbers and say, okay, well, this is my better solution because they have bigger numbers. Most of them numbers, if you think about it, how many times have friends and family have liked or shared a post and you ask them, what did you like about the post? Well, I don't know, I just like it, right? So it's the same difference when you have people going through looking at things. And what you really have to realize is that your ideal buyer is going to be the person they're not going to like, they won't share it, and they're not going to follow you. But they're in the background watching you and watching things that you're doing. So you have to really remember that those numbers really don't mean they are the best option. Well, I just kind of went this. The biggest mistake is don't, depend on the number of followers to make your selection. Do your research. Understand what they're doing. If you're a speaker, what type of events are they having? Who's on the platform? What are they talking about? What is the audience? Do your research and really understand what's happening. Is this where you really want to be, or do you just want to be on the stage because this well-known person is hosting the event? That's not the direction you should go when you're looking at, where you want to be, whether it's media or an event. This is your best friend when you're doing research. This should be everybody's buddy that you go to when you want to research and do any type of research. Everyone's talking about it. So they're talking about what your solution is, what your product or service is. They're talking about it. But now you got to find where are they talking about it, right? These are a couple of stats. 35% of smartphones will be used for news consumption. We all walk around with our phones. Everybody has their phone out, which is a mini computer. So we're using our devices to help us with research and looking at what's out there, what's happening, why is it happening. Don't look for the obvious. And this isn't, I'm not saying go here, but I just threw these up here to show you. These are some companies that came up when I was doing various research for other projects. So don't look for your obvious of the Forbes or Inc. and, those big boys. Not to say that you won't find anything there, but look for some of these other companies. So don't always look for the big boys when you're doing your research and when you're looking for different information, you're doing your research. Don't run away from podcasts. Podcasts are booming right now. 52% of internet users currently between the ages of 16 and 64 listen to a podcast. 75 million of listeners in 2020 will grow over 100 million in 2024. And really, to be honest with you, I think that number is going to be a lot bigger than 100 million, the way podcasts are growing and how people are going to podcasts because they're just a convenient tool to listen to. All of these have millions of followers, subscribers. These are some of the platforms that I've been on, and I use these on a lot of my social media pages and when I'm doing different things. But all of these have millions of listeners and followers. There's so many more out there. So, don't run away from podcasts and some of these other places where you have information. Stay focused. Don't get discouraged. Because as you're going through this, it's going to seem like, you constantly run into a wall, that you may be in a maze, that you may, keep getting twists and turns. You thought you was on the right path, then bam, you run into a wall. Then you turn around and you go somewhere else. So it seems like you're in a maze, but just keep going and, just keep doing that research. Figure out your keywords. What do you want to search for? What's the audience? Where do you want to go? There's times you're going to have questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I kind of lost my focus. When you talk about podcasts, are you talking about using them for research or using them for media exposure? Or both? Okay, Thank you.
Since he interrupted you, would you define podcast for some of us?
Podcast, to keep it real simple, podcast is just an audio conversation that is on various platforms. So before podcast was only like, iTunes, Apple, that was where you're getting it. But pretty much any platform you go on now have some type of podcast on them. Even on news channels, they have their podcast. I think it's Inc. and Forbes, they have a podcast. So just, do your research. They're on all type of platforms now.
And when you see them, how are they identified as podcasts?
They'll have their name, just like a TV show, it'll be the name of that podcast. And some of them won't have the name and podcast behind it. If you do a Google, so what industry are you in?
Financial services.
Okay, so you can do a Google search for financial podcasts or anything. I know financial can, different topics under it. So pick one of those topics and look for podcasts. And then, they all come up, and then that's where then you start clicking and kind of listening to some of them to see, which ones you like and what's giving you the right information. Yes, sir. Oh, you have another?
Yeah, one last thing. Thanks for interrupting.
Yes, sir.
So, my challenge in considering getting into the podcast world is the commitment that you end up going into a marriage. Do you have to do a podcast every day? How,
No, you
how
don't.
often?
For instance, when I do my podcast, one is not live. I don't do live anymore. All of my podcasts are pre-recorded. And which means I set it up whenever I want to set it up. And not only that, it's more convenient sometimes for the person that I'm interviewing. And sometimes we do it after 5. It's not always before 5. And when I pre-record those, then once I do my editing and all that other stuff to it, I schedule it to go out.
How often?
I do it every week.
So you're one a week?
I'm once a week.
Okay.
Some people do every day, some
Right.
do twice a day. I mean, it just depends on the podcast.
Okay.
Are you creating new or are you just updating?
New. But I also recycle.
And there's people out there who literally put in their description that this is a random podcast, right? Make it exciting.
True.
And when you frame it that way, you can kind of just do it whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
Good answer.
So just search your industry and then do whatever your industry is, podcast, and then just see what comes up. There's a podcast on so many different topics out there. And even like for you said finance, it's gonna be, I don't know how many podcasts that come up, but you're not gonna like all of them. So it's just really listening, figuring out, you know, where you're confident what you like. Okay, good, all right. So this is like, you know, we bounce back and forth between questions. Oh, I found the answer. I got a question. I found the answer. So this is just kind of give you that visual of you're gonna bounce back and forth, and that's normal and that's okay. Because we always, you know, we have that answer and then it's like, oh wait, well what about this? Or how does this work? And that's okay. You're gonna bounce back and forth between the two. And again, you're gonna go to our best friend. Okay? So anytime we have no issues, you go back to that buddy of yours and search for what you're looking for. Stop, take a break, back away from it. Sometimes we get in a place where we're like, I gotta get this, I gotta figure this out, let's write this down, let's do this. But when you take a break and you come back, even if it's go walk outside or go get a cup of water or coffee or whatever and come back, you can take a breath, refresh, and come back, and then you'll have that extra gas that you need to keep pushing through the research and do the things you want to do. Research is not going to happen overnight. It takes time to really research and find what you need to figure out and move on to that next step. Managing your research. Create you, if you're not familiar with a CRM, do everybody know what a CRM is? Okay. CRM is a customer relationship management tool. And it comes in all type of forms. There's a lot of online systems out there like Smartsheet, or you can create your own just Excel spreadsheet. And in that spreadsheet, you can write down, you can, you know, each one of your tabs can be finance, and in that have the name, contact, email, and then a comment section to put whatever your research is or question that you have, and you manage that. And then that could be a resource for you to go back, refer back to say, okay, where did you find this, you know, answer or this topic? Okay?
Do you manage your own CRM, or do you hire somebody else to take care of that for you?
I manage my own. I manage my own. And that's an individual preference. If you prefer to have someone else handle it. But if you do have someone else handle it, you really want to make sure that you have a good training system for them, because you don't want them to jump off and do their own thing, and then you go back and look at it, and you're like, wait, you know, what is this? You want them to stay on track. That's the whole purpose of this, to have that tool that you can quickly go back to and look at, you know, sort it, and look at, you know, the information you want and refer back to it. If you don't want to deal with spreadsheets and a CRM tool, Evernote is another great tool to use. So if you're familiar with Evernote, it's note-taking. You can create a notebook in whatever topic it is, make your list, copy and paste the website links, or email it into Evernote, and you can have that information. So if you don't want to work with a spreadsheet or CRM, Evernote will be another good tool to use.
Would you say that Salesforce is one of the most common or not?
Salesforce is more so, I would say, for a salesman. So if you know, you have your individual contacts and, you know, that you're following up on and things like that. When it comes to research, I wouldn't have Salesforce to be one of those tools for that purpose. When you are ready to share information, don't be shy. A a lot of times we think that we're boasting and we're bragging and we don't want to, make somebody think that we're, high, society or anything. If you don't let people know who you are and what you're doing, you could be missing out on some opportunities. So don't be shy about sharing that information. But you also want to pay attention to what the conversation is when you're sharing. Because if we're talking about, media, and I'm rumbling off all about, I do this, I do that, and it has nothing to do with media, I'm going to lose your attention. And then you're not going to be listening and tuning in to what I have to say. So be careful and listen to the conversation as you're spilling out, and don't be scripted. A lot of times we practice, we sit at home and I want to be sure I say this, and I have this, and I want to say this. But you get so scripted, you start memorizing it, and you're not listening to what the person is saying and what's happening because you're so focused on, I gotta say this is my script. Practice on listening to the conversation and picking out of that script what you need to say. Introverts and extroverts. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm introvert, I don't like to talk to people, or I'm shy, or extroverts, yeah, I'm here, da 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 da, right? So I just put a few, out here. Introverts, we recharge by being home alone. Extroverts, I need to go out, I need to go sit with people, I need to talk. Introverts think quietly, extroverts think out loud. Introverts take some time before they respond, extroverts respond before their brain catch up. Introverts don't talk aloud, extroverts give a gap. Introverts, conversations stick with the process. Extroverts, conversations based on their mood. Introverts keep it simple. Extroverts, complexity is the go-to.
I'm in between, so that makes me just a vert.
I agree with you also. I think I'm a blend of both. I'm an extrovert when I need to be, but I love my alone time.
And that just basically means that you are an extrovert. Prime example. I'm true extrovert. When it came to COVID, everybody's complaining, we can't go no. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. Right? I don't know what y'all complaining. What's the problem? Right? But when it comes time to where you have to get out and you have to talk, you have to have those conversations, you have those conversations.
That's right.
But, like you say, that alone time, I'm good. I'm this corner, I'll be fine in this corner.
Okay.
Don't worry about me, But extroverts, they want to get out and, do things. So it's learning how to, introverts doesn't necessarily mean that you don't like to get out and you don't talk to people. It means that you have that time. You are who you are. But when it's time to get out, you do what you have to do.
That's right.
Most introverts that are not trained or practiced wouldn't get up here to do this. When I started networking, I would find me a table, I would sit in a corner, and I'd be just like this with my cards. Well, if they want to talk to me, they'll come over and talk to me. And I'm sitting there with somebody to talk to me. Oh yes, I'm Melissa, blah, 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 right? But now because I've grown and through time, understanding and practicing that, you learn how to, get out and do those different things.
That's right.
Help me to know you. What this means is a lot of times people don't know who you are. And part of that is we've grown up, we've been taught, we've been told this is who you are, we've been told this is what you do. We go to school, we go to college, and this is where you are. But a lot of times, and a lot of you haven't even heard of some of these assessments. These are three, actually I've taken all three of those, but I'm not saying you have to. But I would, ask everybody in here, if you have not invested in one of those, take the assessment to really understand who you are. Why do you do some of the things that you do? Why are you the way that you are? And it's not putting you in a certain box or anything, but it's helping you to understand more who you are and what you're doing. Any questions on assessments or anything?
I got one. Is it similar to like the it's like the bird deal, like if you're an eagle or a
I haven't heard of that one,
bird style?
I haven't heard of that
Okay,
one.
we'll talk about that.
Okay, yeah. But assessment, yes, sir.
Are you talking about a media person for a startup company, or are you talking about the founders themselves?
Anybody.
I see.
Anybody. Because regardless of where, if you're in media, if you're in sales, if you're in finance, wherever you are, An assessment will help you pull out some of the things and help you understand. I didn't bring mine with me, but it'll give you a real detailed assessment of who you are, what you do, why you do, and why people are attracted to you, why you're attracted to certain people, and if you bump into a person that does X, Y, Z, how to kind of have some of those conversations. You have another?
Well, Melissa, I mean, the entire presentation you're making, is it directed at media types within a startup or directed at founders, people who need to be aware that they should have a media presence?
As far as media presence, this would be your company peers, because as people came in, I started talking to some people. Some are here with their company, some are here individually. So wherever you are, if you're with the company and you're in media, in PR and things like that, yes, this is helping with that presence. If you're an owner, you need to also have that presence as well. So, wherever you are is having that, media presence to get there. And this assessment, I put this in here because this is going to help you in some of those conversations. This is going to help you when you're reaching out and wanting to be a part of some of these other groups. These are some books that can help with some of that. The Introvert's Edge and then the Strength Finder. This book here comes actually with the Strength Finder test, but it also explains a lot of the things in the book on Strength Finder, and then as a leader, these two kind of tie with each other. This is a quote that I got out of this book. Helping people appreciate the level of value you can deliver often does feel like you're showing off. And this is where we get in that mode of, I don't want to seem like I'm, better than this person, or if you have an honorary doctorate, if you're a doctor, if you're, whatever it is, don't be shy about that. Let people know who you are, what you do. If you are global, if you're international, whatever it is, let people know what you do. Don't be shy about that. Content. A lot of us, we're on social media, and I gotta put my content together. I gotta put this stuff out here. This I'm gonna be noticed. This is what's gonna happen. I'm not saying you should not do that, but that's not going to be your answer to be in front of the right person that you need to be in front of. When it comes to media, when it comes to, events, or if you're a speaker, want to be a speaker, want to be in front of those events. So you have to not only do content, but go past that. Understand, take the time to know a person and not always in the asking mode, asking for stuff. So, tune in to listen. What are some of the qualifying factors you're sharing to confirm you are a reliable source? That is a huge thing to also make sure that you are a reliable source when people are reaching out to you. Qualifying factors is basically if you have an iPhone or Android, what are those qualifying factors to say, this is the phone that I want? You want to look at the characteristics, the functionality, reliable, the cost. So it's the same difference. What are you putting out there when you're trying to attract someone? This is how contacts see you. It's a whole lot of us out there waiting. It's a lot of us out there. So you want to be the one that they can see in that large crowd of everybody that they're reaching out to. So this is how they see you when you're coming in, because everybody's me. I want to be on the stage. I want to be on this platform. So making sure that you have all of these things put together, understanding who you are, what you're putting out there to say, help you stand out. It's not going to happen in the push of a button. It's going to take time. So don't get so frustrated that, I've been pushing, I've been doing this, I've been doing these things. I reached there, I sent the emails, I'm following up, but it's just not happening. It's going to take time. And then not only that, you may not be hitting the right person. So it's understanding who that person is that you're reaching out to and how you're going to get connected with them. What are some ways you can show up where you are a reliable source? Reviews. If you're a company and you have reviews, this is a way you can show up as a reliable source. Push your Google reviews. If you're a member of the BBB, have those reviews up there. I showed this 2-time award winner. I used the logo to show you're a credible source. Let people, and don't be afraid to ask people, can you do a review for me? With Google and BBB, if you're a member of them, both of them have links where you can send the link out and say, hey, here's the link. Can you do a review for me? Don't be shy about doing that. 56% of global readers are skeptical because of fake news and unreliable sources. 78% of journalists fact check for accuracy due to inaccurate information and loss of trust. Capturing your moments and sharing those moments with everybody. Regardless of where you are, capture those moments. On Fox 26, a podcast interview I did with Crystal Hazlett, if you are sisters, that's Fatima. Proclamation. This guy pulled me off he saw me on social media, and he was running a campaign, asked me to be a part of the campaign. Working on a project for, working on a project for a client. Here, a group of ladies, we out, we talk about different stuff, and then sometimes it's having that relaxing piece. A resolution I received from a judge, radio station, top business podcast, another one, honorary doctorate, Lean Six Sigma, magazine covers, out doing another interview. Went to a Damon John event and gave him my book, and of course took his book. But it's capturing all of these moments. It's so many you have out there. I created these characters for the magazine for a project I was working on. Let people know what you do.
And owner of the marketing studio in Houston, Texas. It's the first studio globally that is woman-owned and focuses on business development and branding. Melissa, thank you for being my guest co-host today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And Melissa, like myself, helps small businesses, many of whom are women and black-owned businesses. She helps to bring exposure to their products and services because we know how hard it is for women-owned businesses to get to financial success. We want to do all that we can to help them, right, Melissa?
Absolutely. This is another moment I captured. Driving to go get a snow cone. The show come on that I didn't know it was coming on. I'm sitting in line trying to get my snow cone, grab a phone. So that's why all the shaking going on is capturing that moment. And as I'm trying to drive, and I didn't want the snow cone to waste because I wanted the snow cone, but it's capturing those moments.
That's right.
So capturing all of those moments whenever it happens, and using those as a credible source. So not only do you say that you're on certain stations or platforms, you have you capture those moments to show the proof of some of the things that you're doing, because these people are not going to invite you on just to say, come on here just because. They're inviting you on for a reason and for a purpose. Leave a good impression. Another one, when I was on Isaiah Factor, I've been on his, I think 4 times. This is an email from him. Thank you for coming on. You were great, and we will definitely use you again in the future. You came prepared and very knowledgeable. Capturing those moments. Making sure that people know that you were there and that you have a good, impression from that person. Because that's going to go when somebody's not sure, you have this, you can send this, put these in your media kits.
Can you talk about how you were able to get on in the first place?
I was a project manager for an event that was happening here. It was I think it was the Faith Awards at that time. And I reached out to him for media and some other things. But again, I had my follow-up, my CRM, so I was following up. Even though that event happened and I still didn't get on that show, I was watching, I was tossing different topics at him. And this wasn't even planned. One day, I was just watching TV, phone ring, and it was Isaiah. I'm like, Isaiah. And he was like, are you available at 9 o'clock tonight? I need you to talk about this. And this show was Less Booze, Less Work or something. And it was about an event where people was throwing their holiday parties at the end. It's a corporate event, but of course you still have alcohol or whatever there. And it was talking about that. And he invited me on to talk about that. So it's a follow-up, even though they don't come right back. And I wasn't planning, didn't send him anything, but because I stayed in his face and I was sending follow-ups, and I was asking questions and shooting articles and sending credible information, he decided one day, okay, let me go ahead and give her a call. And after that one call, he called me back again for another HR issue. Then maybe 2 or 3 months passed, he called me back again for another issue. So it's That first time I left a good impression, and he was happy with it, and knowing that I was a credible source, so he continued to call me back for, some other shows. Also capturing your screenshots. This is a copy of one of my books, and if anybody here is an author or preparing to be an author, always stay online and make sure, because these are not scheduled. When I say I was on there, I was probably on there 20 times a day on the phone, on the computer, just watching to see what would happen. And I captured these that my book was a 2020 reading, book of fall, February, spring, choose the best book. It's the #1 book on Amazon for secretary and aides, employee picks, new releases formulas. So any of those on there, you want to capture all of those screenshots and save those. Here it's out of print, so the book is selling. So it's almost out of print. Amazon Hot New Release for self-help. Amazon Hot New Release for business and money. So capturing all of those and putting that information out there is what you want to put out as a credible source and let people know what is happening.
How do you get those accolades? Amazon best, blah, blah, blah.
With Amazon, when you put out a book, one, you have to be sure that your description and everything is easy to read. Don't use big words. If you have a high technical type of book, in your description, make it lame, where it's real easy to understand, so the average person that want to maybe get into a certain field and they don't really understand the terminology, that description would give them enough to say, okay, let me go. And then you share it with people. You share it with people. Tell people where you are. Put it on social media. Family and friends. And I will tell a lot of people, don't get stuck on family and friends. They're biased. They're going to support you anyway. You want to give it to the person that don't know who you are or anything about you. That's where it's going to start boosting it. But you just keep sharing it and letting people know what it is. Put it on social media. Give some away. You go to various events, set up booths, and you do all these different things. And whether they buy from you or not, they're going to keep clicking on it. And more clicks that you get will help boost you up in these ratings. And that's why you got to stay on to capture these moments. Because sometimes it's like real quick, and sometimes it'll be, for a couple of days or something. But if you have one, stay on there so you can capture these different things. Your question?
Yeah, when you say share it in the context of media, are you like putting this in your media kit?
Mm-hmm.
And if so how does that work? Like what are you putting in your media kit? Are you putting just a screenshot? Or are you putting like a document of saying this is what I've been featured in? What format?
Mixture. Depending on how your media kit is laid out, I have a digital media kit. I don't do the one-sheeters. I don't do the PowerPoint slides or anything. I have a digital media kit where it's interactive. And through that media kit, it has literally everything in there. From volunteer work, projects I've worked on, events I've managed. Everything is in that kit. And if a person wants to go deeper, they have all the information to look for. But when you send a one-sheeter or a slide, you have to always maneuver stuff around when new things happen. And if you send the one-sheeter, you're limited. It's only so much that you can say or do. But in a digital media kit, you're constantly scrolling. You have buttons to click on to go deeper if you want to. If you want to print out my full bio, you can. But when I do these, of course I do the screenshots, because the screenshots will show. I say it, but showing the proof is another thing. Because now I'm on Amazon's website. It's printed on Amazon's website. It's not just me saying it. Because we can always say, whatever we want to say, but when you have the proof to show, then that confirms.
Are you going to show us your media kit or your digital one?
I can, if we have time. If we have time, I can. Yes, sir.
That makes you seem like an authority figure.
Right.
But you're doing screenshots.
Right, and that's the point of leveraging your media, showing them that you're credible, you're a credible source, right? Saving all your flyers. Of course, this isn't all of them, but I just threw some up here to show that, I've been a speaker in different places. These two here, I've done this event 3 times. This is a global event. And I really put this on here because now it has Ghana on there. It shows that I was virtual talking to people in Ghana. Here's another, you notice all the different flags. All of those people were speakers on that particular event. So you're in front of all of these different nationalities and cultures, right? So saving your flyers, doing, being on stage, speaking at different events, talking about different, topics. Incognito is not an entrepreneur. A lot of us, we say we love the name, but we hide behind a mask. We don't really put out the information. We're shy about it. Oh, I don't want to say too much because they might think this, or I don't want to share too much because that's not what they want to hear. If you're listening to the conversation, you know what they need to hear and what they need to have. Are you true to your brand? A lot of us we get the real pretty website, you invest money, you have the nice logos, pretty colors, all of these different things, but does that really represent you? Sometimes we get so tied up into the cuteness or the look of it and not really being true to ourselves. This is where the assessment will help you with that, to help kind of figure that out. And then understand the psychology of colors as well. Because the colors will speak to your brand and who you are, right? So you don't want to use pink just because that's your favorite color or you think it's cute. If pink does not represent fun, candy, kids, women or girls, you don't want to use pink. So it really depends on what your brand is, what colors do you want to use, why are you using those colors. Making an investment when you're on podcasts, media platforms, or anything that you want to help build your stage with can be a cost. A lot of people that do podcasts, they always expect to go on for free. That is marketing. If you are invited in, that could be something different, but if you're reaching out, there are some podcasts that actually do charge a fee. And it's not, it may not be that expensive, but they actually charge a fee because that's marketing. Because if you go in there, you're talking about your business, your brand, what are you offering, what are you putting out there? And then they're also sharing it on their platform. And if they're on multiple platforms, for instance, like I'm on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, Google Music, Amazon Music, you're getting the links to all of those platforms that now you can take those icons and put them on all of your banners, your social media platform, as seen in, and have those listed. So now, people see, oh, she was on iHeart. Oh, she was on Pandora. And depending on who you're sending it out to, you'll send that link. So if someone is looking for, say, one of my podcasts, depending on who I'm talking to, I'm not going to send them everything. I may send them only the iHeart link. Or I may only send them Pandora. So it just really depends. Because that is marketing, because you can really use that as leverage. A lot of times when we do media interviews, we put out all the postings and everything. Hey, I'm going to be on this one at this time talking about XYZ. Then when it's out, hey, here it is, it's released, look at me, and then it's dead. We don't recycle them. We don't keep them on our media kits. We don't keep putting them out there. We drop them on the website and we forget about them. How can you go back to that interview and take content from that, share it again, and talk about something else? So if you're offering valuable information, you could take one podcast and leverage it, and you could have 20 different conversations on social media about that one interview. So it just really, we have to start recycling those things and invest in that, because that is an investment. That's part of your marketing budget. Is the investment worth it? The small cost of gaining credibility by adding icons and sharing appearances to your all about you areas can make a difference in the type of buyer and media that contacts you. So again, people look at you, not necessarily follow you. They may not like nothing that you put out. They may not share nothing that you put out, but they're watching. They just sit and they just watch what you're doing. You'll never know that that person is watching you and looking at you. If any of you in here are big on LinkedIn and you have the premiere, you can kind of see who's watching you. I have people from NBC and CNBC pop up, they looked at my profile. I'm like, well, who looked at it? Right? I'm like, who's this? Who's this person? You don't have a person, you just see somebody from this company has looked at your profile. So somebody is always looking. I have people from, Baker Hughes, Microsoft. I'm like, who's looking? I want to know who's looking, right? but you don't. So you never know who's watching you and what you're putting out there that attracted somebody for whatever reason. What are the next steps? Assessment, bring up, research, and reach out. The assessment is what we talked about earlier. Who are you? Help us to know who you are. Once you do that and you start reading through that assessment, certain things are going to point out like, oh, I do that. Or, okay, yeah, I didn't realize people see me doing this. And when you do that, that's going to help you build on your branding, your marketing, and your media kit. And it also gives you some words in there that you can use to implement into your about and all of the content that you're putting out there. A brain dump. A full-blown brain dump, I would never say do it by yourself because you're not going to prior yourself. You're not going to keep poking at yourself. You can start out with doing a basic one and just literally unload every single thing in your mind, regardless if it makes sense, if it don't make sense. You want to just put it out there. Write them all down. I buy the big sticky notes and I just have a wall of sticky notes. Right? And then sometimes I have a little sticky note on a sticky note. Sometimes I write in my tab, I have a sticky note on a note in the tab. So it's like just dumping these things out. But if you do a full-blown dump, make sure that you have the right person in the room with you because they're going to ask the right questions. They're going to keep poking at you. They're going to keep probing and trying to get you to spill out these things. And once you spill these things, every dump that I've done with the person, by the time we're done, you may feel exhausted. But guess what? You're like, I didn't know that. I didn't think that. I didn't realize I was in this place. And you have all of these notes to take with you, and it's so many different things that you can do with them.
Give us a quick example of a brain dump. I'm not familiar with that.
A brain dump could be, let me go back to, see like these sticky notes? Even though this was a project I was working on, but even though I wasn't dumping, I still use these. So a brain dump could be like these sticky notes. You can get the real big easy ones or whatever you want to use. And I use painter's tape to help stick it up there because it'll drop sometime. So that way it won't damage the wall. And what you do is whatever thoughts you have, and it may not even make sense. And a lot of times we don't dump because it's like, well, that don't make sense, or I don't know what I want to do with this shit, or I don't know where I want to go. It doesn't matter. If it's in your head, write it down. If it's one word, 2 words, if it's an incomplete sentence, if it's a sentence that's jumbled, you just spill all of that stuff out of your head. And once you spill all of those things out, and if you have somebody to help probe you with, they're going to start looking at all the stuff that you have down and start probing and asking questions about some of that stuff. And when they start probing and asking questions, other things are going to come to you and you write those down. And as you keep drilling and writing all these things down, you can take all that information and now it's like, okay, how can we prioritize? How can we make sense out of this? And that's how you start coming up with projects. You start coming up with different content. It can even be a business idea.
Do you post these brain
No, this is you. This is just your information.
Okay.
This is your private space, your room.
You said podcasts sometimes charge. Can you give us a range?
I've seen them as low as $75. I've seen them go up to $500.
Not sounding as good.
I've even had one that was like $1,000. So
those are like the major.
Some are not. They just built their branded and different things. So it really depends on the podcast.
So roughly around a few $100s typically.
That's what I would say. Yeah, right.
And how long would that podcast typically be for? How duration?
Some is 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
30 to 45 minutes. And some podcasts will offer maybe a 30-minute interview and then give you an option for 2 or 3 spots or something, or 1 spot. Some may, do the full 45 minutes and say if you want some additional spots, it'll be X number of dollars.
And when you say spots, you mean
A spot could be like a promo commercial or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
What I do in addition to my podcast is that I create my own green screens. And a green screen can be, so like he mentioned finance. I may find like a money bag or something financial and I create a green screen but still have that image, and I'll take a segment of that interview and drop it on there, and that's part of my promo. And I also would send it to the person I've interviewed, so they can share it as well, so they get that little snippet. So now if you want to listen to the entire show, you go here. So yeah, all of them do them differently. They have their own theme that they do. So it just really depends. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. So if let's say I have a small web presence online, but I'm known around real estate, but I'm looking to start a tech business, and I don't want to lessen my credibility in real estate by talking about this new business I'm trying to start. Like, how would you suggest approaching that, or would you say that it doesn't affect my credibility to talk about both, or is there a way to promote my business without necessarily making myself the face of it?
Okay, I'm going to probe you. Do the tech business have anything to do with real estate?
Very tangentially.
Okay, how small, percentage-wise, how small would you call?
So I'm a mortgage broker, and I'm looking to do a small business like booking application where small business owners also train AI to create a doppelganger of themselves.
Okay, with the real estate business and with this tech business, it's finding where can you marry them, even though it's small. Where can you marry it? Because you have the credibility over here. So if you marry it a little bit and you put it with the real estate,
Right.
even though it's not full blown real estate,
Right.
who over here in real estate may hear what you're saying and be like, I may need
I
this.
see what you're saying. So like target like real estate agents as like the first or brokers as like the small.
You already
business.
have
And
that
talk about
stage.
both.
You already have that
Yeah.
stage.
Okay.
So utilize the stage you have, because one, you don't know who needs what, and you don't know who knows who. So you start there, and then you still, again, go back to your best buddy, Google, and get on Google and do some search. See what people are asking. Here's a website. It's called Answer the Public. And if you go to that website and you do that real estate, what comes up is a boatload of questions of what's been asked on Google. Right? And when you click one of those questions, it's going to take you to Google and it's going to show you, whatever's coming up under that particular question that you selected. So that could be something to help you with your research and as you're going through trying to figure out where I need to go. And then this is where a good brain dump will come into play. Of you having all of these sticky notes. You write real estate and whatever these other industries are, and then you write one tech and whatever your business is and write those things down under that. And then as you're standing back looking at all this stuff up on the wall, where can you overlap and put some of this stuff? What's gonna make sense? How can you marry it without it sounding confusing to somebody? Because anybody coming in, especially they don't know anything about this, but it could benefit them. You want it to be super simple on where they're looking at that and how they can utilize your product.
Okay,
So
what was
this-
the name of the website again?
Answer the Public.
Answer the Public.
Yeah. And
But going to this first tier, the real estate agents, first project, you might also get input from them and further developing your product to meet their needs better.
Okay.
do it don't. There you go. See what he just said? That would be on a sticky note. And then under that, it's like, okay, my product offers X. Real estate does this. And just start writing that stuff down.
Right. So find the intersection.
And move to the next step. Okay. Any more questions on brain dump? Okay. Researching, it's like we already talked about, it's the Google, manage it, put it in a spreadsheet, follow it, do follow-ups. So in your spreadsheet, make sure that you have those sticklers that you need to follow up with such and such. And when you do that, if you're using a spreadsheet and not a CRM that'll give you reminders, make sure you go to your calendar and put that reminder on that, a follow-up on X number of day, and go to your comment and say whatever, put your little reminder of why you need to follow up with that person. Okay? And then once you do all that and you put everything together, you're probably ready for a reach out. Start reaching out. And the reach out is still going back to your CRM or your spreadsheet, because you still want to document when you reached out so you can follow up. If you're hitting a media company, I will set a schedule follow-up every 3 days. Unless they come back and say, no, we're not interested. And even if they come back to me and say, no, we're not interested, I do another reminder 6 months from now to hit them again. Yes,
So
ma'am.
it's appropriate to follow up more than once?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
The typical thing you should do is 7 touches,
Okay.
you know? And sometimes that's basic.
Okay.
But depending on, if you get a reply back or a conversation, it would depend on, how you keep going after that. But if you're not getting anything, you just keep hitting them. Every 3 days, you hit the reminder. I use a project management tool because I've been doing projects for so long that I use my project management tool. It's the same thing. To where I still put the information there, I put my notes, I put my reminders, I put my follow-ups. If I did talk to someone, I put in the notes, talk to them about XYZ, blah, 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 follow-up pertaining to this. If they mention something like, my dog is getting surgery or mom is sick, put those notes in there because now when you follow up, you can add that personal note in there. How's mom doing? Did your dog come through okay? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Did you have fun, at the birthday party or wedding, whatever. Put those little notes in there because that lets them know that you're just not in there, give me the sale. I need your money. Let's go, right? So it's, add those little personal touches in there when you're reaching back out. This is the overall process. If anybody have an @Gmail, get a domain. Stop sending emails with @Gmail. Get you a domain. Domains will run you probably $12, $15 a year. And send an email. You can still use your domain through Google, but don't send @Gmail because a lot of people, when they see @Gmail, they're not going to take you serious. So here again, have your spreadsheet, document, make your list, do all your sticklers. Once you do all of that, you get everything ready to go. You're ready to send out the emails. Do multiple contacts if you have. Multiple contacts at one organization is okay. Don't just look for one person. If you can find 4 or 5 different people at that organization, send it to them. Not in one email, multiple emails. And then as you're sending, documenting your spreadsheet or your CRM. Send the email on such and such date, give you a stickler to say, okay, let me see if they responded. Boomerang is another app that's through through Google, and it's free. Boomerang, you can do reoccurring emails, and you can it's a box in there you can check to say if no reply, remind me in 2 days, 3 days, whatever. So you set that up.
What's a better professional choice than Gmail?
Your domain.
So the domain, but you have to be able to create an email address associated with that domain.
So if you're, in the first phase, just to say you're in the first phase of starting a business, you're not full-blown ready to go, but the business is going to be called XYZ. Look up your domain, xyz.com.
Right.
If it's not available, play with variations, and then get that domain. And then create you an email, your name @xyz.com. And then if you prefer to, you can set it up where it's through Google, if that's your go-to.
You need an email provider, and that's what my question was.
You can, but if you go to a domain site, I use iPage. I don't have to use Google, but I use iPage to get all my domains and house everything. I can send it straight through them if I want to, but I decided to, put my domain on Google, and I use Google to do my emails.
Well, what's your email address?
Melissa@smginc.com. .biz.
Okay. I'm just trying to help the class.
And everything we talk about is a recycling mode. You're constantly going to recycle. It's going to be the same loop that you keep going around, and you do everything. You plan it, you do it, you check it, and you action. Plan it, do it, check, action. It's a big recycling circle. So, questions? Comments? Yes, sir.
Your 3 speaking events with Isaiah?
Isaiah.
Were any of those paid presentations where you were presenting?
Because you were invited.
Well, it doesn't matter if you're invited or not. Most of these news channels are not going to pay you.
Oh, no, You weren't paying, but you weren't paying, I think you were asking if she was, if
Oh, if I
you
was
were
paying, no, sorry, no, I was not.
But that was because he invited you.
No. The question to clarify is whether she was paid to present.
Right, exactly.
No, no, most of the news channels won't pay you, because you have a story, again, they're giving you a platform to, so that's your pay. So that's why I say, and if possible, if you have the opportunity, sometimes they won't let you. If you have the opportunity to take someone with you, take a person with you and give them your phone, iPad, whatever, and capture all the different shots. If you don't have anybody with you, connect with somebody that's there, and then ask them to take those pictures for you. And that's how I got that one on set with him, that one. I was by myself, but me and this girl, we was talking or whatever, and I took her pictures, she took my pictures. Because most of the time, you don't see it, but there's like chairs like this on the other side of the camera, and it's like, shh, we're starting, and they're running the show. So it's always somebody on the other side of the camera.
Question. Is there a format where you can pay to be interviewed on the news program?
There are some. Again, you need to search your industry. That's where the research comes in. To see, one, who you would like to be on, and then once you find that platform, do your research there to see if there is a fee, what that fee is, and what is their process. They have different processes where some may send an email to a particular person. Some may have a contact form. Some may, say, of course, pay this fee, send us a press release. It's variation, depends on the platform that you're going. So that's where the research comes into play of digging in and then marking that down on your spreadsheet. Okay. Yes,
I have a question. Pre-COVID, I used to be able to get a lot of reporters to come cover like major events that I did, but after COVID, it's like I'll send out the press releases, but I'm not getting the responses. I used to have contact people, but a lot of people went to where they weren't working in the office. So do you have
one, have you searched to see if they're still with that company?
They probably aren't, because a lot of them are responding back now.
Okay, if they're not with the company, for one, strike those, see who replaced them.
Okay.
If anybody replaced them, because some positions just didn't get replaced.
Okay.
And then from there, the ones that you confirm that are still at the company, again, you create your schedule, you send it, and then how often are you following up?
Normally, I'll submit my press releases on Tuesdays, and then I'll follow up like 2 weeks prior to the event.
You're given to me to the gap.
Okay.
So you need to follow. So if you're sending your press release 2 weeks before the actual event, so if you're sending 2 weeks before, you send it on this day. 2 days later, you'll follow, because it's so close.
Okay.
2 days later, you're sending me an email. Hey, just checking in, want to see if you got this press release, blah, blah, blah. Because sometimes it hits their junk mail. Again, if they don't, 2 more days later, you get you a schedule, 2.
Okay.
And as you get closer to the event, I would say 4 days out, and you still haven't heard anything, find a phone number. Pick up the phone, call, and see, and see if you can get them on.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of doing that. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but, right. So it's the follow-up. And I know follow-up is a hassle. Sometimes it's like, just check your email. Right. But that's just the nature of the beast, People get busy. Sometimes it drops in their junk mail. They're not familiar with you. So they don't know your email address, so they overlook it because they get boatloads of, people. Like, remember that thing I had waving like this?
Right.
That's what they see. They see you. So create your schedule and do your follow-up with them. And that's where your, tickler come into play, CRM, project management tool, whatever you decide to use. So you won't forget to do that follow-up.
Thank you.
You mentioned the importance of creating content in a few different ways. What kind of content would you say is like going to get the most engagement, generate the most business? And also, like, how can I step up like the level of production, considering like how competitive the content landscape is?
When you do your content, do you do research before you put it out there, or you just go off the top of your head?
Off the top of the head. Yeah. Right.
Research.
Right.
Go to Google, put in your topic, see what comes up, see what people are saying, see what are the questions that's been asked, see if there's any stats or anything. So it's like you want to qualify it in a way. So like through here you saw I had a variety of different stats on different things. put that in there. 20% of real estate agents, fall behind because lack of, pick something in your program.
Right.
And then, you kind of get that, but you don't go in and sell it.
But I kind of mean like, should I invest time like an article, a video, like,
Do your research. What do people want?
Right.
Right? So every industry is different. But I would, always incorporate some type of video. And don't put too much effort in trying to make it, fancy and paying a videographer and all that. Sit right in front of your computer, your phone, record a video, and just put it out there. I'm sure everybody here is familiar with Gary Vee. He drops a lot of F-bombs and everything else, but how many times have you seen him in a suit when he's, giving information? Even when he's on stage. Tennis shoes, jeans, t-shirt, baseball hat. And he's telling you whatever it is he's telling you. I'm not saying for you to go drop no F-bombs, but, it's just, being comfortable. But of course you still want to be presentable, it's being comfortable. I've started, doing some videos on TikTok. And what I've done is, under that topic, I just took a regular spiral tablet, and every line, I wrote a topic. And I came up, I think, 22, 25. That gave me my content, right? So out of that content, every day I would go to that tablet and check off what I'm gonna talk about today. And I just get my phone and I sit at my desk, or I put it on my gimbal or something, and just, all right, we're gonna talk about blah, 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 and I give whatever information, short, sweet, straight to the point, not trying to get, long-winded. Post it up on TikTok, and of course TikTok can be shared on Instagram. But I take that same video, not the one I upload on TikTok, but the same video, and I put it as a short on YouTube. That's something I started doing probably within a month. I haven't been doing that long. Because I was with everybody else, with TikTok. I don't want to dance. I'm not funny. I don't have no jokes. I don't want to do the hand dance and all that stuff. So I just started doing it. And then I started researching. And I started seeing, okay, what are other people doing? What do they want to know? What are some of the information they want to know? And that's how you create that. And then I would take those same topics that I've done, and then I would expand on it for like LinkedIn. And I expand on LinkedIn, and I add an image or whatever, to it. And a lot of, sometimes if I'm, in my office just working, I have on a t-shirt or whatever, I do a video. If, like today when you do put your face on or whatever, okay, what can I capture today? Because we got it on. Let's see what I capture today. I'm not gonna post them all today. Right. And the thing about it, when you're invest, like for instance, let's use this as an example. I may do a video in here, go outside, do one, go over there, do one. It look like you're in a different space. Right. And ladies, what's real easy, we could all put on us a little cami, and we got plenty of blazers. Take off that blazer, put on a different blazer. Put on a different blazer, and do it all in one day. And now you got all your video that you need to do. In December, I did content for 4 months with 5 topics. And what I did is I took those 5 topics, I created 5 newsletters. Took those exact same 5 topics, then I created an e-blast. And an e-blast looks different than a newsletter. It's more colorful, it's more like a flyer, right? It's not as wordy. So I took the exact same 5 topics, did a newsletter, did an e-blast. And I scheduled those to go out once a week instead of every day and all that, once a week. So out of 5 topics, and I'm doing it once a week, I got a newsletter, e-blast, newsletter, e-blast. So see how this spreads out?
Okay, yeah.
I just did 5 topics. Yes, ma'am.
Another good research thing now that they just came out with is the Chat GPT-3, the AI format. And so it's like Google but synthesized or succinct, because that one question is going to give you, and you can a thorough answer, and then you can kind of refresh it and get different answers and things like that. And then as it relates to you can kind of say, whatever you got out of them, and then you can say brought to you by AI, right? Because it's popping and everybody's talking about it right now. And so this can be a slow integration into revealing your whole AI real estate merch.
Yeah, actually, I'm taking, transcribing everything on my phone, and I'm gonna put it into AI. And basically I can like ask different questions, like summarize these points, or put this into an article. And it's actually been helping me with my SEO and, you know, article creation, just content creation. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, AI is becoming really big right now. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say thank you.
Absolutely.
For doing this. I'm a digital content consultant, and I specialize in SEO copywriting, social media copywriting, social media management, and just hearing everyone talking social media strategy. I just feel the need to say it's okay if you don't know how to do all of the social media things, because it's taken me 5 years to have, like, you know, 9,000 followers across my platforms, you know, and yeah, it's okay to, you know, ask for help. You know, so.
You're gonna get bombarded when you leave out of here.
Do you want to talk about the world of influencers? I've done a lot of research on that, and it just seems to cost a lot of money. I don't know what the return is.
It depends on the industry, and it depends on your need and your budget for that. There's, I forgot the term that they're using, I just saw it the other day, to where instead of it just being a brand influencer, it's industry influencers. And for me, it's a personal opinion. For me, I wouldn't use one. But for some companies, you really, really don't have the time, or, you know, you're a larger company, you may find an influencer, which pretty much is a social media management person, and that, you know, do the content for you, do the videos, put out your information. So it comes around to a personal, you know, opinion on it. Me personally, I don't. You know, everybody else may feel a different way about it. So it just.
I think they work really well for products, like household consumer good products, but not necessarily for like service and goods.
You also get that elevated status if you write a book or a pamphlet, because you're seen as an authority figure and an influencer. Is that correct?
I mean, if you think about it, AI is doing what it's doing right now. And for those that want to write a book, but you're just not that writer, use some of the AI tools, because it's going to help you spill some of those things out. Because even though the AI may come in and fill in whatever, you know, information after you wrote a sentence or two, when the AI spits that information out, you're going to say, okay, no, I'm going to reword this and add this, or I didn't mention this, and you're going to type some more stuff, then AI, you fix that, then da-da-da-da. So that could be something to help you too, for those that want to put out even if it's not a full-blown book, say a workbook or something like that, a pamphlet.
You can use it for the brain dump too.
I wouldn't use AI for brain dump, because a brain dump is you. AI can't do a dump for you.
I mean, like, your idea, put it in there, and there's AI out there that if you put an idea in there, it will kind of create a brand or whatever it is, the same kind of way that
But
you're
that's
saying.
taken away from you.
Oh, correct.
Right. So that's why, you know, that what you're saying, I think is a good thing if you're, again, looking for information to help you write and you know, get that information out. But for a dump, you want it to come from you. And the reason you want it to come from you is because it's your thoughts. Now, once you get to the point where you get ready to push out the content and do things like that, I would kind of go to the AI. But to do a full-blown brain dump, the AI wouldn't fit in that piece of it.
Just to go back to the influencer conversation, I myself was an influencer and still do some of that on the side. I think it really is important. The influencer industry is $1 billion industry for a reason. It matters because you can have influencers for services. You just have to find them. Like Google IT services influencer on TikTok or something like that, or coding on TikTok. There's so many people out there who have so many different kinds of niches that I'm sure you can find someone who will be of value to you.
Yeah, that's why I say it's an individual preference on, you know, if you decide to go that direction or not. It's somebody out, today is somebody out there for any and everything. It really is. It's just, again, it takes time to go back, do your research and what your budget looks like, and you know how you want to move forward. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any tips on engaging with press, and how do you like if you've got a announcement on something you're working on, how to like get the word out there.
One, we're gonna go back, you gotta do your research. Who do you wanna reach out to, why do you wanna reach out to them? Are they in front of your right audience? You don't wanna just reach out to press just to reach out to press. So who do you wanna get in front of and why do you wanna get in front of them? And you wanna go look at some of their interviews, what are they talking about? It might not, and you wanna make sure you're reaching out to the right journalist, because you might not be reaching out to the right person. So it might be late night, early morning, midday, the person that you need to reach out to. So see if that platform is right for your audience, and once you do that, same thing. You do your research, you find out your contact information, put all your stuff together, and then you shoot your email, but you gotta have the follow-up.
And are you, like, do you suggest engaging like a PR company to do that, or do you suggest you doing it? Or
You can do it
something?
yourself. You can do it yourself. Again, you just gotta go to that website, because they have different ways to contact them. Some will be a PR at, some will be info at, some will say contact the editor, it'll have a contact form. So depending on your platform, you just gotta see what their process is to reach out to them, but you still gotta need to have that follow-up to, make sure that you're staying on top of it.
Aside from my thank you, I also have a question. What to do when you don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of for when you do the breakdown? Or something like that?
Find you somebody. That's where connections come into play. So you've networked with somebody that, you have some type of connection with. And whoever that person is, build a relationship with them. And then once you've built that relationship with them, and it's somebody you trust, and they're going to sincerely tell you certain things, whether you want to hear it or not. They're going to be honest, at least give you that critique. Tell them, hey, I need to do a brain dump and I really need your help. These are the things I'm doing, and just kind of lay out, these are the things I'm doing, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And, let them do something. They're going to ask the questions, they're going to probe, they're going to say, well, that just don't make sense, And depending on your relationship with the person, they're going to be real honest, So find you that person to do it. That's the only way. I would not use a family member, I would not use a friend, because they're not going to probe as a person that's not that close to you.
Can I jump in and recommend the ION? The ION.
True.
I
Yep.
found the ION back in August because Wade Pinder, who's a senior product manager person that was part of the founding team of Blinds.com, gave me an hour of his time to go over my software product from the senior product man, and I've been following his roadmap since August. And 1 hour of his time.
He's over here on Fridays.
Friday mornings, cup of joy, ION. And the oxygen here, you will find people, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say fraternity, but I should say fraternity and sorority, shouldn't I? That the community that's here, the oxygen's incredible.
What's his name?
Wade Pinder. He'll give you an hour of his time. He's a kind, generous.
I'm gonna give him an hour of my time.
That was good.
There's like networking groups, for I don't know, they could be business owners, entrepreneurs, women, whatever you want, and you can there's either Facebook groups or, because there's a lot of power in like strategy sessions, and they're super helpful, so we can get that objective take, but there's definitely community groups that are out there.
Connect with somebody in this room.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is there such thing as KPIs in the effort you're making, and what would they be? Key performance indicators. What would they be?
Research.
No. The value of the research passes through KPIs, so you know its effectiveness. That's what
But that's what I mean. When you're researching and you're getting to that right person, and the KPI that the return on that is going to be, one, your follow-up. And the follow-up comes from, before you get there, you have to research. If you're attracting that right person, and you're connecting to that right person, what is your energy, and what do you want to put into it to keep follow-up? Because for instance, like if you say CNBC, and you want to get on there. You know the platform, you see the listeners, all of that, right? And you get on that show and whatever topic that you may go on there with, research articles. So put that topic in a research article and start shooting that over to that journalist. And eventually see if they get an interest. They're gonna get used to seeing you pop up in their email and they're like, let me see what he wants, right? And they're gonna look at that email and they may decide to say, okay, let's see. Now you have to see what information, once you're invited on, what information are you giving the audience? Which means if you're giving them enough valuable information, they're gonna start reaching out to you, and that's when you're gonna start seeing that return.
I would say maybe when it comes to doing the follow-up that she's referring to in the research, I would say maybe considering how fast, like, you know, originally you may have been taking 6 months for them to get back to you, right? If after doing the research and stuff that she's recommended, now they're getting back to you in a week, that would be a good KPI, like a good way to understand whether you're getting effective results from the path that you've created.
And just to piggyback off of that, you know, they have a new perspective for the KPIs, and I came up with this a little bit within a week, is keep people interested, keep people informed, keep people involved, and keep people inspired. You know, these are those new KPIs.
That's just like SWATs. They don't call it SWATs anymore, it's SWT. They took the opportunities out. Because the way of the world is just changing, the attention span, what people are asking, what they're requesting. So it's just, you know, seeing, you know, the world is shifting. We can't do what we can't, you know, do what we used to do all the time.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
First of all, I want to say you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I feel like I have to correct you on something you said earlier.
Okay.
And that was when you were talking about the camera was all shaking because you were getting a snow cone. And being a native New Orleanian, living in Houston now, I have to correct you that the correct pronunciation for the word snow cone is snowball.
Actually, it was a cone. Actually, how they do it, it's actually a cone. It's not a ball anymore. It's a cone. Tomato, tomato.
We have for over 100 years.
I was gonna ask what, like you said, the time is changing, so millennials aren't really, not all of them, but like book versus doing more short videos. What do you feel? Because I know before they kind of gave you presents to have a book, but do you think that it's kind of shifting?
It depends on what you do with that book. There's this guy I know, his name is Chip Baker, and he has a series, Impact of Influence. And we've built a relationship, I got to know him pretty well. And what he's doing with his book is that when I say he's putting it out there, he's like just constant. He's traveling, he's in these schools, he's talking to these coaches. So it depends on what you do with the book.
Okay.
So if you're, you know, ready to pound, it could be amazing.
Right.
But if you do a book, just say, hey, I got a book, right. And a lot of people think when you have a book, oh, you got a book, you're making all this money. You have to really pound to make that book sell and make money. So unless you're going to be doing a lot of traveling and vendor shows and selling your own book and pocketing all that money, it's one thing. When it's on your platforms like Amazon and the others, you only get a percentage of that.
Right.
You don't get the full-blown $15. So you get a percentage of that because they got to make their money from printing and, you know, all this other stuff. So you really want to, you know, do your investment, really look at what it is that you want to do when you have that book out.
Thank you.
Can I share something?
Yes, ma'am.
There's this thing called HTML5, and it is it's online. Though it's not a physical book, but it flips like a book, right? As you're reading it, instead of just like a Kindle or anything like that. And you can put video in there as well to kind of merge the two when it comes to and kind of provide a unique experience.
That's what a lot of people are doing with their digital books. With digital books, they're incorporating videos in some of them. Because before it was, you know, enter this link.
Right.
And then when it became digital and you were online, it was like, click this link. But the way that they're building a lot of the stuff, man, the way technology is, when you turn the page, it's an actual video and not click this link.
Okay.
So it's again, the world is changing. It's just so digital.
And you can view that file, it's a file?
Yes, it's.
On
yep,
computer or device, tablet?
Yep, anywhere.
Yeah, that's the great thing about digital is that it's a huge change for a lot of people that's used to the paper and pen, type thing. But, with the tablets of the LG, iPad, Samsung, all these different things that's out there now, it's the convenience. The convenience of flipping the pages and being able to quickly go from this screen to this screen and quickly go back to the other screen. And because of the convenience, that's why the podcasts are blowing up. Because you can listen literally anywhere, in your car, on your phone, while you're running, feeding the baby, cooking, whatever. It's the convenience of listening to these different things. Because before it was like, turn the radio on and blast the radio in the house because if it's in another room, so you can hear it in this room. But now, you have your cell phone or iPad or whatever, or if you're running, you put your earbuds in and you're listening to the podcast. So it's just the attention span with all of us individuals has really changed. We don't have the patience and we don't have the long term that we used to have to really sit and wait on things. We want it now, I want it now, I want to do it now. And that's where we are. And that's just the reality of the world. Pre-COVID, it was low, but post-COVID, it's.
What about Audible, like an audiobooks? Are any of your books in
No.
audio format? Have you done any research or thought about that?
No, I have not. These books, I released those in 16 or 17.
I found this on the web.
There you go. So, that's when I did that one. But the one, A Coffee Sugar Cream, I'm actually in the thoughts process of doing a second version of that. I don't know if I'm doing a second version or something completely different with it. Because the world has changed. Since then, the world has changed. Some things in there may still be relevant to some, for people to use, but there's a lot of it that has changed because of the way technology, these tools that we have, and just the internet. Any more questions? Okay. I have an ask. Oh, first, if you're interested in getting a brand assessment, scan this QR code and then sign up for the brand assessment. And what that will do is it's going to give you a form and you put all of your detailed information in there. That's going to allow me to review that form. And once we do that, I set up a one-on-one call with you, and then we'll go through everything and I'll tell you the findings on what I see that you may need to touch up on, do differently, or anything like that. Okay? And see, here's my email address right there. Everybody got it? Okay. And then I'm going to ask you to go to Google and do a review. Don't be shy about asking for reviews. So, was this informative for you? Was it?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
So we do a review on your name or what?
Savvy Media Group.
On what?
Savvy Media Group. You could grab one of the cards
Oh,
too.
I'm looking in the middle, sorry.
Oh.
Savvy.
Yes, so just Google that and go to Google and do a review for me, please. That's Melissa Ambers with Savvy Media Group. I am so glad that you had the opportunity to watch our video, Leverage Your Media Presence. I hope you were able to get some great tips and tools that you can utilize in your brand. Now, if you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments below, and we will be sure that we answer them. Don't forget to click the subscribe button so you can always be in tune when we drop a new video. And we will also start to create videos based on your comments and your questions to make sure that you have what you need to create your digital footprint. So don't forget, click the subscribe button. We want to go with you on your journey to create a global digital footprint for your brand.